This is Billy from Feverhill, and you're watching the Brutally Delicious Podcast.
One, two, three, four. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast.
So cool. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate you taking the time. We can just jump right in. Let's talk about Feverhill right from the get-go here.
Sure.
So Follow Me Down, I guess, is due in late spring. I've been jamming Trapped Under Lies for the last couple of days, prepping for this thing, and I absolutely really love it. What's been the reception to it so far?
The reception overall has been really good. People have so far had lots of good things to say. There's been almost no, negative criticism, which, usually in these situations, there's always going to be people that, don't like it or don't buy in or whatever the case. But for the very, very, very most part, I think the only criticism we've got so far is that we didn't put the lyrics for the song on the streaming platform. Yeah, that was the only real thing. And I started to do that last night, and I just haven't had a chance to finish it. But for those who are interested in that, the lyrics will be posted by the evening for all the streaming platforms.
So I said, oh, really? But I guess it kind of makes sense in maybe a Feverhill kind of way, because you guys, I was reading your bio, are definitely into and have sort of a message about body shaming. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm a big man. And, the stereotypes in music have always been you have to have a certain look, you have to have a certain appearance and things like that. What I really love about what's going on in popular culture now is things are starting to get away from that more. And I feel like people are, more focused on, instead of the outward appearance, sort of, what makes somebody and, more about who they are as a person rather than what they look like. So, I've been big most of my life. And I mean, I'm not going to say that I've dealt with any kind of discrimination necessarily, but it's definitely something that kind of sits in your mind, especially when you're trying to, get out there in front of the public. People have perceptions and, things like that. So we're just trying to, it's funny. We had a conversation yesterday with the band, and we all kind of agreed, like, we're not really interested in making one person, the focal point of our band in any aspect, because as far as we're concerned, we're a team unit, we're a brotherhood, and everybody's role in the band is equally as important. So even with our stage show, we've kind of devised this sort of thing where, I'm not standing in the front and constantly, trying to draw attention to myself. I'm more interested in the band getting the attention and everyone sort of being able to shine individually, but also as a collective unit, so that the band speaks for itself. I don't speak for it.
That's interesting. And I mean, I think what you're doing is very timely because of the weird internet culture that we live in and all these, haters and bullies, and you see all that online. But it also, I think, while it's timely, it's probably, do you feel a sort of responsibility? And is that responsibility sometimes too much?
So I take responsibility for myself and for my own doing. Certainly, I care about others. And, if I've always said, different people measure success differently, to speak to your point. But as far as I'm concerned, as long as with my art, if I can make a positive impact on just one person in their life, then I've done my job as an artist and as a musician. And certainly, like, if anyone can relate to, my own struggles and apply it to them or find that, inspiring in some way in their lives, then, absolutely. But, I don't really consider myself sort of, it's hard to hold myself responsible for the doings of the world and the universe. But certainly I'm willing to do my part, if that becomes necessary to kind of get it out there and, like I said, to try to make a positive impact on someone's life.
Do you find it therapeutic and maybe even cathartic when you're writing those lyrics?
So yeah, the thing is, being honest with you, we do work with producers, but all of the lyrical content and the subject matter comes from my own experiences. And certainly I add my parts to it and things like that. But I don't write music arbitrarily. I'm also a guitarist. I'm also a drummer. I'm also a bass player, and I've had a big hand in writing almost everything that we have that's going to be on our album coming. Actually, we got a release date for it. I'm not going to announce it yet, but it's for me. It's yes. It allows me to express myself and how I feel because. Again, I don't write music for the sake of writing music. It needs to speak to me, and hopefully it speaks to others as well.
So on that same point, then, do you ever feel like you've put too much of yourself in it, or been too vulnerable in your music, or is that not a thing you consider?
No, absolutely. The thing is I believe there's a difference between a musician and an artist, right? So you have people who play music, and then you have people who express themselves through their music to create art, right? So I consider myself an artist in the fact of I put everything that I have emotionally, mentally, and yeah, it can be exhausting sometimes, especially, sharing such personal things of my life with perfect strangers. Even when we perform, like a lot of these songs and even in previous bands and material that we've had in different projects and stuff, like it takes everything out of me. Like once we get out there and play, and then at the end of the set, I'm usually just exhausted, and it usually takes me a good 10 or 15 minutes to get my face wiped off, collect my thoughts, paint on a smile, and start talking with everybody. So yeah, it can be very taxing emotionally, but I've become very good at compartmentalizing things. We've all gone through trauma. We all have things that have sort of affected us negatively and kind of mold who we are. But I've tried to take those things and focus them into a media where I can grow something positive from the negativity I've dealt with over my life.
Right. And I imagine, the connecting with the fans and after you're done and compose yourself is pretty amazing and intense, right?
It's incredible. I'm a people person. I really, really enjoy, speaking with people and engaging with people. Over the years, I've gotten a little bit better about, sharing experiences, because there's always fans that want to know, like, what was this song about? And, where were you at mentally? And, it takes a little getting used to, because again, you're sharing, or I'm sharing, my life and my experiences via my music. And then, oftentimes you have to kind of re-explain things, which is fine. I love people. I'm totally okay with speaking to anyone because it's not just through my music that I try to leave good impressions, but in my personal life as well. If I can share something with somebody that perhaps is uplifting to them, then I'm okay with that too. But it's taken some getting used to.
Yeah, and that's amazing that you do that because in the last couple years, we're all in this weird, fucked up sort of mode, and any kind of positivity you can glean from anywhere, I think, is quite amazing and useful.
Yeah, absolutely. I say this every once in a while. Before COVID, because in my daily life I work with the public, and before COVID, like. People were difficult to deal with kind of in, just a generalized manner of speaking.
Right.
And then during COVID, like right in the height of it, like everybody was just so, endearing and, we're coming together and everybody wants to be helpful. And then now that it's sort of in the aftermath of it, I really feel like it's almost kind of worse now. You have to be very careful what you say and how you say it to people, which is fine because, we should all respect how the other person feels. And that's great. But I think that we also kind of, myself included, have suffered from some short-term memory loss of what things were like when we were all locked down and the world basically just closed. And, it would be nice if we can kind of remember some of that in our day-to-day, just being kind to people, man. That's really what it boils down to. Just treating people with respect. You can respectfully disagree with how someone feels or what someone thinks without being just a complete piece of shit about it,
Yeah, I mean, it's the golden rule from when you were a little kid, right? It's
absolutely.
It's fairly simple.
right? And people forget about that sometimes. I think more what we found is that, in my personal opinion, I'm no expert on the matter, but when we were spending so much time in our homes, we had so much time to ourselves to like really think and process these things that we probably, in the scheme of our day-to-day lives, didn't really have time to think about or time to deal with. We saw depression just absolutely skyrocket from all the isolation and stuff. And what I really think it is people are just now going back to their lives, but also dealing with the things that they had to deal with or they had the time to deal with, and still really not knowing how to cope. But I feel like with time and some patience, we can all get to where we need to get.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
So Feverhill, are you guys planning on taking this out on the road anytime soon, or is that too early?
It's too early to tell right now. I mean, obviously the ultimate goal is to be able to, to do some shows outside of our own market. We do have some things that are sort of in motion. We're really just trying to see how all of this goes. We have 8 songs that are scheduled for release with our album. We're going to release another single as well in the interim. But what I have, or what we have in this band, in my opinion, versus what we've had in previous projects and things like that, because 3 of us are all from previous projects. We've been playing music together for over a decade. This, I can honestly say, is probably these 8 songs. It's like one of those things, like, we don't write songs to be fillers. Like, bands write hits and then you write some B-sides.
Throwaways, right.
Just to take up space. We have 8 solid, good, well-written, in my opinion, incredible songs. And, the thing is we've had all of COVID, because, I don't know how much you know about us, but we were a previous band, started in 2019 called Posthuman, and we've sort of spun off of that. So we started recording these songs and writing these songs September of 19. So we've been sitting on these songs. When we released the video, I released a statement with it to one of the media outlets, and basically it was, this album is 3 years in the making, and we're paying attention to every single detail of every song, trying to make sure that we're producing the highest quality of product. So with that being said, we've been very stagnant on the outside, but behind the scenes, we've been working very diligently. And the producer that we work with, his name is Kyle Odell, and he's phenomenal. Incredible songwriter, incredible producer, incredible friend. So what we're trying to do is see what kind of a response we're going to get from these songs, and then perhaps sort of, spring from there and figure out really what the end goal is. I mean, the 4 of us all are professionals. We all have jobs. We're all married. I have children. So we have lives aside from the band. And obviously, the goal is always to try to be able to make a living from the music, and that would be great. But we're more concerned about getting the material out there and seeing what the response is before we just dive headfirst into uprooting our lives and our families to hit the road.
So are you planning on doing then, if I understand correctly, the single route where you're releasing a new single every 4 to 6 weeks, as opposed to, just like, hey, here's the full album and a single along the way?
So we've already released Trapped Under Lies.
Right.
I'm actually getting ready to announce on social media in the coming days that we're going to release another single on March 17th called Under My Skin. And then I guess now's as good a time as any, but the record Follow Me Down will be available in its entirety on May 19th.
Okay.
So we're going to release Under My Skin as the single, just to kind of keep the momentum going a little bit. Right. It wasn't really the intention when we set out, because we were expecting to have a few more songs for this record. But I think for the sake of, as I was saying, it being 3 years in total that, we've been recording this, we felt like, okay, you know what? Enough time's passed. We need to maybe let go of the reins a little bit and just get this thing moving.
Right.
So we are basically, those are all from Trapped Under Lies to Under My Skin is 8 weeks. And from Under My Skin till Follow Me Down, the whole record release, is another 8 weeks. So we're releasing, pretty much every 60 days we're releasing content.
Right.
And as it happens, we're actually going to start work on our next record April 27th.
Oh, nice. So
We're just
getting
going.
back to doing the record then. So there's a whole in today's society, I think, the digital, I want one single at a time. There's a whole art form that's almost lost in sequencing a record, correct?
Absolutely.
What was that like?
So all right. So I've never played music like to like a professional level, I would say. But I've always been involved in music, at least somewhat what I call semi-professionally. Weekend warrior stuff.
Right.
My entire adult life. I'll be 39 this year, and yes, like getting into this sort of new culture of music and how it's released. Just everybody's releasing singles like crazy. It's definitely a different animal for us, and we very well could have taken all 8 of these songs and just released singles until the cows came home.
Right.
But we also believe that this record, one song is an extension of another. It's not a concept necessarily, but I'll tell you, the majority of the subject matter has to do with my struggles with self-image and my struggles with addiction over the years. And I thought that we would be sort of selling ourselves short if we released these individually without being able to tie them all together. I've also had some, everybody's had relationship experiences over the years as well. And, there's a lot of that subject matter as well. But this record just kind of goes through the waves of what my life was like before I was able to really find myself and center myself. It's difficult sometimes because my wife hears the songs and she's like, is this me? It's like, no, this isn't you. This is me. You know what I mean? It's not, right. It's not like, and she's been great. I have a wonderful wife and she's been very supportive through this, but I imagine it's been very difficult for her because she hears everything obviously, but I imagine it's been difficult for her to kind of listen to some of this stuff and to try to, sort of pick apart what exactly it is that I'm talking about. There's, everybody's got a past, man. And in terms of relationships, I try to focus on my present and my future. But, there's some things that I had to sit down and explain to her, parts of my life that were very uncomfortable for me to explain and very hard to talk about. So in all, it's been very therapeutic for me, right, because it's allowed me to have these conversations and it's helped with my mental health. And so I didn't see any reason to sort of jump onto that train of just releasing singles in perpetuity. The album needs to be heard, in my opinion. And that may sound arrogant. I don't mean for it to.
No, I think it's great because you get that whole ebb and flow and you can create the atmosphere and the mood and the way you want it to be heard, especially with a message.
Yeah, and a lot of these songs are very dark. As far as the material that they're about and even the way that some of them are written. But again, the whole thing is to take that darkness and to be able to kind of shine a light on it for others. There's plenty of people out there in the world that struggle with addiction, and maybe somebody doesn't know how to process it. I'm very fortunate. I'm very blessed in the fact that I was able to overcome that and to be able to continue to live a normal, happy life. I've had some health problems as well, and that's in some of the subject matter as well. And I'm also doing I'm doing lots of things to reverse that. It comes to a point in your life where you have to make a choice, right? So for me, my choice was, do I continue to kind of go down this path of self-abuse with either food or drugs or whatever it is, or alcohol, or do I want to see, for me, my sort of, flashing bright light moment was, I have kids and I want to be able to see my children grow up and have families of their own or relationships of their own and, lives of their own and be able to be a part of that. And, I'm still a young man, but I'm not getting younger, right, and not getting any healthier either. So I figured they are really my motivation, my wife and my children, and that's why I do what I do.
That's an amazing story, and I congratulate you. But on the same token, there are so many people, like you said, are struggling or who can't get out or who have never made it out, and that's quite an accomplishment to actually be able to, say, hey, for whatever reason, your family, your wife, that's beautiful that you were able to get away from it.
I appreciate that. You know, everybody's got their thing, and you know, people still struggle. I'm all about, like I've said multiple times, man. I want everybody to know that you are worth it. You are important. Your life has meaning, and even if you can't see that meaning, there's meaning to it. And again, if anything that I say or anything that I do can be helpful to somebody, it's very humbling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, you're giving me chills. That's beautiful. So well
Thank
put.
you.
So what is next for Feverhill then? Are you just kind of the next single and then back to, you said, making new music?
Yeah. So the next single, like I said, March 17th, Under My Skin. Great song. I mean, of course, I'm in love with everything I do, but
Right.
really, really great song. Julian Como actually produced the vocals for the song, and after that, we have the entirety of "Follow Me Down." "Follow Me Down" obviously is going to be "Follow Me Down" is the title track. There is actually a song called "Follow Me Down," and you know, it's an interesting song too, because that song really. When I was writing that song, I was just kind of looking at myself in the mirror. You know what I mean?
Right.
And when the song comes out, everybody will kind of get it. It'll click. But yeah, so we're going back to write with Kyle in April. The end of April, we're writing with him over a long weekend. I'm sure there'll be another writing session between then and the finishing of the second album. I think we're pretty much, for the time being, until someone approaches us with any real, kind of relevance and says, okay, we got to stop doing records. We need to start doing singles. That's just how we're going to keep going. But this time around, I think we'll release 3 or 4 singles before we actually release the rest of the record. Do it a little bit differently since we're not so stretched out time-wise.
Right. Nice. That's all I've got, my friend. I hope I didn't drag it on too long or meander too much, but I enjoyed the conversation quite a bit.
I did too. Thank you for your time. I'm sorry if I, overly answered things.
No, I appreciate that. And honestly, thank you for all that you do. I think we're all in need of that positivity and that message. So thank you so much for the music and for the message. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Be well. Good luck with the record. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, man.
Cheers.
Hello out there.
Yes, hello out there, everyone. I'm Hal Schwartz.
And I'm Flynn McLean. Together, we host None But the Brave, a podcast dedicated to the music and career of Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce and E Street Band are on tour right now for the first time in 6 years, and we're taking a detailed look at what's happening on stage in our bi-weekly episodes.
We've also been recently joined by some very exciting guests, including rock journalist Warren Zanes and Stephen Hayden, Backstreet's Magazine founder Charles Cross, and Barstool's Kirk Minahan.
If you're a diehard Springsteen fan, this is the show for you.
So please subscribe to None But the Brave on your favorite podcasting platform, and we hope to see you further on up the road.
Thank you so much. We'll be seeing you.